Hello and welcome to Connect the World. I'm Lynda Kinkade in Atlanta, filling in for Becky Anderson. Good to have you with us. Well, US President Trump is beginning the week with an avalanche of tweets attacking the Russia investigation and the media for covering that investigation. He's blasting the probe, or rigged witch hunt, as he likes to call it, as well as the media, or what he calls fake news. He went on to accuse news organizations of causing division and distrust and says they are very dangerous and sick. But while he calls the investigation a hoax, the president acknowledges that nations are meddling in US affairs. Listen to what he said while campaigning for congressional candidate in Ohio on Saturday.
And we got to stop it. We got to stop meddling. We got to stop everybody from attacking us. But there are a lot. Russia's there. China's there. Hey, we're doing well with North Korea, but they're probably there. We got to stop everybody.
So, as you can hear it, a busy morning for the president, coming at a potentially critical time in the special counsel's investigation. Well, for a closer look, CNN political analyst Julian Zelzier joins us now from New York. And Julian, I want to start with the Mueller investigation because President Trump seems to be quite worried that his own family might be implicated in the Russia probe. We have some sources from the White House telling CNN and the Washington Post that he is concerned, although he's tweeting this morning that he's not at all worried because that meeting in 2016 with the Russians was legal. What's your take?
Well, I think we can probably put his tweets aside. He doesn't often say things that are necessarily true, and they're also usually for political effect. I think there's many sources now reporting, which is logical, that he's worried that his oldest son might get caught up in this investigation, and he might have said things that weren't true in front of the Senate about the meeting and who knew what about the meeting. So it's very plausible that those are concerns that are running through the president's head.
Yeah, they certainly seem to be concerns. There's another big story that we're looking at, a rift in the Trump family over US basketball star LeBron James. Let's just listen to a bit of that exclusive CNN interview that sparked all of this.
Whenever there's something like he's in trouble, he can't wiggle his way out of something, he'll bring up the national anthem thing and kneeling or standing. Do you think he uses black athletes as a scapegoat?
At times. And more often than not. I believe he uses anything that's popular to try to negate people from thinking about the positive things that they could actually be doing.
Well, afterwards, President Trump tweeted insultingly about James and Lemon. He said, basically, you can see there that Don Lemon is the dumbest man on television. He made LeBron look smart, which isn't easy to do. Well, Melania Trump is defending LeBron James, her spokeswoman praising James for his work with children, adding the First Lady was open to visiting the school which James opened up in Ohio. This isn't the only thing we've seen this week. Melania Trump certainly at odds with President Trump, her husband. We also saw Ivanka Trump come out being very much at odds with him. She said the immigration separation policy, taking children away from their parents at the border, was a low point for the administration. And she said she does not believe the media is the enemy of the people. What do you make of this certainly far from united front within the Trump family?
Finally, the silence over some of his most controversial and provocative statements has started to crack just a little bit. We have to remember this is the end of a long list of statements where both of them have remained pretty silent. Some of this is them seeking to separate themselves from some of the president's controversies, and some of it is probably to send a message to her father, to her husband, in terms of Melania, through television, which is a story we keep hearing. This is often how advisors and people close to the president communicate. They push back on the airwaves in order to get his attention. But clearly his comments on race have really angered many Americans. And this is the first time we've seen that inner world of the Trump family actually step up and say something about what the president does.
Yeah, I wonder if we will continue to see this going forward. I also want to point out one of the tweets that I mentioned earlier that Trump issued today, talking about the media as being dangerous and sick. Now, this comes as obviously the Washington Post keeps this tally of President Trump's misleading statements. It says so far this year so far since being elected, he's made more than 4,000 misleading claims. That's more than 7 false statements a day. He seems to really hate that the media holds him accountable.
Yeah, I think there's 3 things going on. One is he hates that the media reports on what's going on and holds him accountable to what he says. The second is the media has been a foil to this president. It is an enemy. It is a way to rally his supporters. It is something and someone who he can always tell his supporters to rail against. And finally, by attacking the media, he basically tries to control the storyline that the country understands about what's going on in Washington. He tries to delegitimate an entire institution so that if you want to know what the news is, you should listen to him. And that's not a good pattern and not a good precedent for the country.
No, it's certainly a dangerous precedent. Julian Zelzier, good to have you with us, and thanks so much for your perspective.
Thank you.